Hey there, TikTakers! A movie that can't be missed during the last Christmas is Frozen. Some time ago, we posted a video about the film and told you that it was based on the original story by Hans Christian Andersen, The Snow Queen. This tale is considered by literary experts to be one of the best works of the writer. Additionally, it is one of his longest writings, so he divided it into 7 parts. The first part is which treats of a mirror and of the splinters. In this part, the devil creates a magical mirror that distorts appearance, showing only the bad and ugly aspects of people. When the devil and other trolls try to take the mirror to the sky to mock God and the angels, they drop it and it shatters into 1,000 pieces. The pieces are blown by the wind all over the earth, getting into people's hearts, freezing them like blocks of ice, and turning their eyes into mirrors. The second part is a little boy and a little girl. Here the protagonists are introduced, young Kai and his friend Gerda. They weren't siblings, but they loved each other as if they were. They were neighbors and used to lean out of their windows every day, tending to the roses that grew between their houses. One day, a piece of the magical mirror was carried by a snowflake, and it entered Kai's heart and eyes, making him cruel and aggressive. The boy destroyed the rose garden and mocked Gerda. Suddenly, all humans seemed ugly and bad to him. The boy ended up finding the Snow Queen, who offered him shelter and gave him 2 kisses. The first one took away the cold sensation that was freezing his heart, and the second one made him forget Gerda and his entire family. Kai could now only think of that woman who hugged him tightly and took him with her. In the third part, called Of the Flower Garden at the Old Woman's Who Understood Witchcraft, it tells us that the people in the village believed Kai had drowned in the river, but Gerda didn't lose hope and went out in search of him. People in nature helped her realize that her friend was still alive. Sitting in a boat, she thought for hours, until she realized that her boat was starting to sail, as if it wanted to take her to her destination. She arrived at the house of a woman who offered her cherries and combed her hair. As the woman brushed her hair, Gerda began to forget about Kai. Months later, Gerda manages to escape the spell when she sees the roses bloom, which reminds her of her friend. So she flees to continue searching for him. The next 4 parts continue to tell the story of the children and the Snow Queen, leading to its conclusion. Gerda questions animals and plants in the forest, and along her way, her adventures continue, such as reaching a palace and meeting a prince and a princess, being captured by thieves, and even getting a reindeer to go to Lapland to free Kai. When Gerda finally reaches the Snow Queen's palace, she finds her friend. She runs to him with excitement, but he remains unmoved. Then Gerda begins to cry inconsolably, and one of her tears reaches Kai's eyes, removing the shard of the mirror embedded in his heart, and making him remember Gerda. "Gerda, my little Gerda, where have you been all this time? And where have I been?" They took each other's hands and returned home. Upon arriving, they realized that nothing had changed. Inside the house, things were still in the same place as before, except for one small detail. They had turned into adults. The roses in the garden had bloomed, and the 2 little chairs they used to sit in were still there. So the 2 adults decided to sit down in them, for deep down, they were still children at heart. In the case of the Frozen movie, Elsa shares similarities with both the Snow Queen and Kai, as the boy tries to escape from the queen, and Elsa tries to escape from her power. Anna, on the other hand, is like Gerda, but instead of searching for her friend, she sets out to find her sister. Both stories seem fantastic. Don't leave yet as we continue with the Frozen world.
We talked about Elsa, who you all know is the Queen of Arendelle and is the co-protagonist of the famous Disney movie, along with her younger sister, Princess Anna. Elsa's story is based on the tale of the Snow Queen by the Danish writer Hans Christian Andersen. And I'm sure that many of you will be surprised to learn that in the original tale, Elsa was an evil villain. She was a merciless queen with an army of giant snowmen at her disposal, and thus her appearance was much more sinister and dark. She was more hostile and resentful towards others, and most importantly, she had no intentions of containing her powers. The first movie adaptation of this story was made in 1957 by an animation studio in the former Soviet Union. This version was more faithful to Andersen's story, had a darker tone, and ended up receiving very good reviews, as well as the Best Movie Award in the prestigious film festivals of Venice and Cannes. However, the movie was still not very well known worldwide. In other words, Elsa's character was originally very different to the one we saw in Frozen. In Disney's version of the story, we witness a traumatic event in her childhood when she almost killed her sister Anna due to her powers. This makes her think of herself as a potential danger, which is why she always tries to contain her magic and avoid interacting with others. This goes on until the sudden death of her parents, which forces her to get out of her confinement to be declared queen. During the coronation, Elsa causes a new incident, and before the surprised look of the guests, she decides to run away. Clutched by fear, she decides to isolate herself in a crystal palace in the mountains, where she believes she has found her place. A place where she will not be a danger to anyone. Since Elsa hasn't forgiven herself for the incident she caused, she isolates herself and hides her fear behind a shell, so she can live all by herself. The complexity of this character has caused many of us to feel identified with her, because at the end of the day, we see in her the same problems that we could suffer ourselves. Elsa's story makes us reflect a lot, TikTakers. It tells us about how someone who had a happy and fun childhood can change drastically after a traumatic event, and also tells us about how our guilt and fears can haunt us for many years. But not everything in the movie is sad. One of the most revered aspects by the public was the importance of fraternal love in the story. Elsa's relationship with her sister Anna is one of the central elements of the film. In this case, the typical romantic plot is pushed into the background and Disney puts family love and friendship on the same level. It's also noteworthy that the heroine of the story is a woman instead of a man, which is traditional in fairy tales and film adaptations. In the last decades, Disney has taken this into account and is giving more and more leading roles to female characters, starting with Pocahontas and following with other successful movies by the studios such as Mulan, Tiana, Brave, and Moana. Frozen premiered in movie theaters almost 6 years ago, and it was a huge success. It earned almost $1,300 million worldwide, becoming one of the highest grossing animated movies of all times. It also became a worldwide phenomenon. Dolls, costumes, and toys of Elsa and the other characters of Frozen swept stores all around the world. And for the time being, its much-awaited sequel, Frozen 2, has already broken another record. It has become the animated movie with the most pre-ordered movie tickets, which can only mean that the anticipation for this movie is enormous. We also wait eagerly to see the new adventures Elsa and company will face. And what about you, TikTakers? Did you pre-order your tickets for the movie? What do you think will happen in the sequel? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!